This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Enrollment Department. We'd just like to remind everybody that we do have open enrollment, which means you can enroll all year long, any time of year. All you have to do is go to the website and hit the Enroll Now button and start the process. If you are a current family that knows of other families would like to enroll, just give them a referral, and remember that we do have a referral program that will kick you back a nice little gift. So with that being said, just want to let you guys know that this podcast is going to be a little bit different today. A couple months ago, Alan, my co-host, and I sat down with some families at a casting call event and talked to them about their CCA story and gave them the opportunity to share with us, what CCA means to them, what it is to be part of our community, and how it's affected their family, and just some of the benefits that they found about being part of the CCA family here. And so I thought today we'd like to share one of those interviews. Alan sat down with one of our learning coaches, Chris Choi, and talked to Chris a little bit about his family and their CCA experience. So with that being said, here it is. Enjoy the interview.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. My name is Alan Fernandez. I'm the administrative assistant of the Midtown Drop-In Center. Joining me is a parent with CCA, Chris Choi. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. So Chris is here with two of his kids here for the casting call for the upcoming promotional campaign, with CCA. Today's date is May 23rd. And actually, if you just move a little closer. Awesome. So, Chris, I guess just kind of starting off, can you just share with us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do for a living, just anything you'd like to share a little bit?
Sure. I'm a stay-at-home parent.
Okay.
I've been a stay-at-home parent with the kids ever since they were born. I used to be a high school teacher, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it was a decision of keep working to pay for daycare or do it myself. So
right. We
just made that choice. I stayed home with them. And I'm from the Reading area.
Okay. Awesome. What did you teach when you were a high school teacher?
Math and science, mostly math.
Oh, okay.
You name it, I did it. Anywhere from algebra up through calculus, statistics, geometry, trigonometry, pre-calculus.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much all of it, yeah.
Awesome. And how long did you do that for?
About, I lost track. Probably about 7 years. 7 or 8 years, yeah.
And was that in the Reading area too?
It was around Philadelphia mostly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. And you have your kids are currently enrolled in CCA, right?
Yes.
2 of them or more?
But no, just the 2 of them.
Just the 2?
My daughter's 7. She just finished 2nd grade, and my son is 9. He finished 3rd grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how long have you had your kids enrolled with CCA for?
This was the first year.
First year?
Yeah.
Oh, so back in September then pretty much? Awesome. Very cool. And how did you come to hear about CCA?
An online search. It basically, my daughter was the motivation for it. She had been in a Montessori school, and we were looking to move her into public school, but she was a little advanced, and we wanted to get her placed early into 1st grade, but she missed the cutoff date because of her age. Just by a couple months, we went through testing and everything, and the school district still said no. So we decided we couldn't put her in public school, so we looked for other options. And cyber school is one of those that we were definitely interested in looking at.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. And so just kind of a online search, happened to come across it.
Yep.
What were some things about CCA that you read or maybe heard about that attracted you to eventually say, let's go forward and check this out as an actual choice?
I guess the 2 big things were the curriculum options, being able to work faster or slower as necessary, or to be able to advance faster, which in my daughter's case definitely was a plus.
Yeah.
And then there was just the schedule flexibility, being able to do things when we wanted, and having that freedom to go on field trips or to go on our own vacations whenever we wanted. Those were things that were really appealing.
Okay. Awesome. That's really cool. And so you joined back in September pretty much as your first year. So you're about to close out your first academic year with CCA.
Yeah.
What have been some things that you've noticed as a parent that you really appreciate about CCA, or that maybe you were surprised by? I
appreciated the rigor of the curriculum, comparing it to what my kids would have been doing in public school. I'm definitely happy with that. I feel like they've progressed a lot further than they would have otherwise. And the teachers have been great. So what surprised me most, because they're at the elementary level, I wasn't quite prepared for how involved I would have to be. That was something that I think was a little understated. And it's definitely been an adjustment period. And I have a lot to learn from this year going into next year to make it better for the kids. Which, you know, my daughter loved it. She's very academically. I like to describe them as Bart and Lisa Simpson, really. So that pretty much tells you what they're like. So she loved it. And my son was like, oh, you know, field trips are great, but I don't want to do all the work. But that was the most surprising aspect of it, was just how much work it would really be for them and for me as well. And it took me a good long time to figure out how to manage all of that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that, you know, when I first learned about CCA, because I haven't been an employee for too long. I joined back in September, actually. So we're both going through the same time span of CCA as our first time. And one of the things that I saw was very interesting was that component of basically family care. When I read the mission statement for CCA, I really saw it as they really adopted the "it takes a village to raise and teach a kid" sort of mentality, which I think is a fantastic sort of educational philosophy and pedagogy to have. So for you, now that you've been into it for a while, is it something that, you know, you ended up being kind of really just excited about now? And so you were saying that it was kind of a rough adjustment. So now that you've gone some time with it, you're like, okay, I have a much better handle on this. And what would you actually, that's really from my original question. My original question was going to be, what sort of things would you share to parents about that aspect? About the aspect of you're going to be more hands-on, especially in the elementary level with your kids. What sort of things would you share to them as they're coming into it, or maybe some advice, some things that you learned in the first few months that, you know, were a learning curve for yourself?
Right. I think the first and the biggest thing for new parents is to really be prepared for how involved you have to be. You know, when they talk about like the high school kids, that they have their work and they're pretty independent, and they try to tell you that the elementary kids are they're going to require more attention on your part. It's more than that. To some extent, I felt like a secondary teacher, really, where the kids have their live lessons, where they're going over material. That's great. And that was very good for them. And I had my kids go to live lesson as much as possible. But then when they're doing their own lessons outside of live lesson, you have to get involved as a learning coach to help them get organized, figure out what books they need. There's a lot. In fact, the lessons require your presence to read material with them or to them, administer tests to them, and that level of involvement just was, I wasn't expecting it until I got into it. So I think it took me a little while to get over the shock of that, and especially with two kids in two different grades with different work sets. That just made it that much more challenging, just figuring out how to manage my time so that I could do what I need to with one while the other one is hopefully doing something and not just sitting there waiting for me. And early on, it was a matter of I was putting in like 8 to 10 hour days just working with them, trying to get our work done. Now, I guess on the flip side, I'm a little gung-ho about it. I try to push, and maybe I was pushing too hard. So we got down to towards the end of the first semester, and both of them were basically finished with all their work with 2 weeks left to go. And I didn't have a good sense of how much leeway we were going to have. And realizing that the curriculum is designed so that you have basically a week free at the end to get caught up on work. So if you do things kind of on the pace that is in the scheduler, you're going to be fine. You don't have to worry about pushing ahead or falling behind, really. So.
Right. Yeah. And that flexibility component, how has that been for you, especially with being a stay-at-home parent,
Right.
and then again, kind of adjusting and going over the shock of, oh, I'm much more involved than I have to be. I guess. So how much of a tool was the flexibility component for you through this experience?
So I looked at it as sort of mobile school,
Yeah.
basically. So when I had things that I needed to do, if I needed to go somewhere, I could just plan ahead a little bit, figure out what work the kids could do on the go, in the car, whether it's reading or whatever, and just make sure that we bring it with us. So I could go and do kind of some of those ordinary, mundane, everyday things, and they could still be doing their schoolwork. On a much more positive aspect of that, we could go on trips. We go on vacation, and we would take and sort of play around with the days a little bit, like a travel day. If we're flying to my parents in Florida, I would still treat that as a school day. They'd bring work. They'd be working on the plane. It counts as a school day, but we're on vacation.
Yeah.
So we had that flexibility was nice. Also, we could take our vacation whenever we want, which financially is great because you can go on vacation during off-peak periods. You can save money. That was something that's, I don't like mentioning that first, but it's hard not to just mention that,
No, definitely. I mean, it's a component that's important to a lot of families, for sure. Because, growing up, I never went on vacations, and that was a very big reason why. It's because it was just expensive to go during those peak times. So, definitely appreciate you sharing that, because that's definitely a component that I think everybody thinks about, but because it's financial, some people may think it's taboo to talk about. So I appreciate you sharing that.
And it's also an opportunity, because you can do things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Like this was purely fun, but we took our kids to Florida over Halloween. So they got to go trick-or-treating at SeaWorld and Legoland. And
that's so cool.
It was the best experience ever for them. So, that kind of thing. That we went on some other trips that were just, we went on a trip. We were in, we were in the Southern Caribbean, actually. We were on a cruise, and we went to caves and things like that. Still educational, but it's something that we probably wouldn't have been able to do if we were stuck with a regular school schedule.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're coming close to our end of time here. So I guess one of the last few things I want to ask is, number one, what would be the one thing you'd say as of right now that has you really thinking and deciding, okay, this particular thing or a couple things is really leading us to want to come back with CCA or keep going with CCA?
I think the curriculum and the work that the kids are doing, that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
I see them progressing and growing, which is definitely the most important thing. And it also, as I said before, I think they're doing it more than they would have in our local public school.
Right.
So that's something I want to continue so that they can grow as much as possible.
Right.
When we got into this originally, it was really looked at as maybe a short-term solution for a couple years to get through sort of the elementary level.
Right.
And as the year has gone on, we realized that maybe this could be a long-term thing. Definitely for my daughter, I think she's going to stick with it. So it's kind of everything that I've already said are the things that we've really come to appreciate more and more as the year went on. The curriculum, the flexibility, and we're just happy with the experience in general.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And the very last thing, since this is going to go to all of our staff in the entire state, is there anything you'd like to share with them, whether it be praise or encouragement or even maybe food for thought, especially since you were an educator at one point as well and still are with your own kids at this point? Yeah. Do you have anything at all you'd like to share to the staff?
God, I don't know. Other than I really appreciate the work that they do and how they get involved with the kids in live lesson or with their phone calls or seeing them on field trips. That it's really just like having a teacher in a brick and mortar school, and to some extent they get even more involved with the kids because they're not dealing with 30 at a time. They really can be one-on-one. So I really do appreciate that. As far as advice, for the elementary level, I have none because I have really no idea how to deal with elementary kids. And this past year has just proved that even with my own kids, I have no idea how to deal with elementary kids. So I continue to rely on them, and I very much appreciate them being there for us.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having this time to just have a conversation. I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
You know, it's always good to hear from CCA families about how our school and our teachers and our staff and just our community in general has affected them in a positive way, and the good experience that they've had with us. If you'd like to learn or read a little bit more about Chris and his family and what CCA has done for them, please visit our blog at www.ccaeducate.me. And remember, we are CCA.